What is up, people of YouTube? I'm your host Vernon. This is the Hemenway Fishing Pier. Let's fish that. Alright, ladies and gents, great news. The Hemenway Fishing Pier, after a year of being on solid ground, it's finally back on the water. Now I have to give credit where credit is due, thanks to Busy Dad Fishing. 2 or 3 weeks back, he did a video out here on the pier. That's how I know it's back in the water. And at the end of my video, there will be a link to his video if you want to go check that out. He did some interesting things out here, testing out different baits. My video, however, is a lot more selfish. I love fishing off of this pier, but we're not going to catch anything just standing around, so let's get to fishing. Alright, so right now at this moment, I have the little fishing pier all to myself, which is very weird. Don't expect it to be like this. You will normally share the little fishing pier with other people, and I think as the day progresses, some people will show up. But having my pick of the spots, I'm going to opt for the bit deeper side. And my goal is going to be trying for carp and catfish. It is summer, and in summer, both carp and catfish, they need to be feeding. The water is warming, the metabolisms pick up, they need to feed. So I'm going to be targeting them specifically. That does not mean you cannot find other fish out there. You can still find bass, especially they love hiding under some structure, or they go into the deeper water. And you can still find striped bass, but I'm going to shift my focus to the carp and the catfish. Now my first rod, I have a piece of night crawler and a little anchovy head at the moment. My plan is using some garlic chicken, but that is quite frozen. So I have a little anchovy head on there. I'm going to cast that out, and once the chicken is ready, I'll put that on the hook. And on my second setup, that is my carp setup. We have a method feeder with some pack bait and some corn and some marshmallows. I'm going to throw that out into the water, see if we can get some carp to commit to it. Alright, so we got our carp setup out there, and we got our night crawlers and anchovy for the moment out there as well. Now if this particular rod only had the anchovies on there, I wouldn't be too worried about stripers grabbing the rod and pulling it into the water. But because we do have night crawlers, and carp can also go for night crawlers, there is a slight chance of something grabbing this and pulling it into the water. So just to be on the safe side, I'm going to secure this pole to the little stand we have. And to do that, I'm simply going to use a little circle hook. It's a little setup I use when going catfishing, using a little circle hook. And it has to be a circle hook because of the way the hook is shaped. And all I'm doing is I'm putting my little swivel around the hook, and now it's secured to this pole. If a fish grabs and pulls on this, it is fastened to this little thing. It won't be able to drag it into the water, and because it's a circle hook, I have to unclip it before we can set the hook or anything. Okay, so that little circle hook is just for a little bit of added safety so the rods don't get dragged into the water. But now all we have to do is wait for the baits to soak out there, wait for some fish to find them. If we have any action, I'll bring you guys to it. Alright, ladies and gents, we are now an hour into the fishing session, and so far no bites out there. Now when it comes to something like the carp fishing, that's not a problem. Normally it takes an hour before you even start getting hits. The reason being, you're throwing out baits that are supposed to draw in fish, so it takes a while for the fish to find your baits. So a lot of times with carp fishing, it can take a couple of hours to get interest from fish. However, on the other setup, that is now the garlic chicken and some night crawlers out there, that is supposed to be for catfish. Now, by not getting any hits from any catfish within the first hour, kind of just shows me that my baits aren't in the right spot. Now, a lot of people catch catfish from this area, so we do know there are catfish here, but I think we have a flat shelf, and then a bit deeper there's a big drop-off. Now, I need to be getting my baits into that drop-off. The problem I'm having, especially with the wind blowing, is getting my baits all the way out there. But that's the big thing about fishing. Even though it's not going according to plan, and I'm not getting constant fishing action, it does not mean that I have no chances of catching fish. It just means you need to calm down, wait for the baits to do their thing. So just gonna leave everything out there and we'll see if we get on fish. Alright guys, we had a hit on little night crawler, but it was very strange. Don't know if we have a fish on. Feels rather heavy, but yes, we do have a fish on. Like I said, this is on a little night crawler, but we do have smallmouth bass. Gonna boat flip him, so let's hope he's hooked nice and proper. So not any of our target species for today, but happy to get a fish at least. So first fish for today, lovely little smallmouth bass. Lovely spot on him. Let's quickly get that hook out, get him back to the water. Alright, so totally unexpected little catch. Lovely to get a fish, lovely smallmouth. Let's get him back to the water. Dropped him and he just swam under the cover. In no rush to get away, slowly making his way back. But first little fish landed. Not what I was expecting to get out there, but happy to get something at least. Alright, so I hope this little microphone is shielding at least some of the wind. It is a rather windy day out there. But I quickly wanted to explain. I removed the setup that I had on this little ugly stick of mine. I rather went for a Carolina rig, thinking that I can cast out a bit further. That is why I only have the one hook on there, and on that hook I put a piece of night crawler, and that is why we use night crawler. An unexpected catch like that can always happen on a piece of night crawler. Now as far as the carp setup, it's still out there, still soaking. I had one take where the alarm went off, but it was only one bounce and then nothing. So we'll just wait, see, maybe they'll come back and start feeding again. Alright ladies and gents, I did the impossible out there today. I threw out some corn for carp and I didn't manage to catch a single carp. Now I have to point out that the people fishing in this spot before me, they caught some catfish and some stripers early in the morning, and by the time I got here they said they're not getting any more bites, so that's why they left, and that's why I had the spot for myself. And I think it's an important time, the time of the day that I was out there fishing. Now I only fished 4 hours out there today, only got that one little smallmouth bass, and of course there's something like 8 hours of sunlight still left, but that's what I'm going to call this video. It's getting a bit too windy out there to film. Now why do I like the little fishing pier? Well, that's quite simple. It grants you a little bit more access into the water. If you need to cast out a couple 100 yards and you're on the bank. This little fishing pier makes it a little bit easier to get your baits out into deeper water. And typically in summer, you'll find fish looking for some hiding spots, and something like this pier is a structure in the water, a place for fish to be hiding. Now, that being said, I have to be honest, when looking into the water, this piece of water seems dead. What do I mean by that? Well, normally you would see some shad swimming around or some carp up shallow, even some small bluegill, but at the moment I'm not seeing any fish anywhere near the pier. But I think it's just simply with the higher water levels, these fish aren't up in the shallows yet. They're not quite sure whether the water is going to stay that way, so they're not going up shallow, they're staying a bit in deeper. So you have to get your baits and stuff out deeper to find the fish. And of course, if you're here in the low light conditions, early morning, late afternoon, you're bound to get more fish. Now, I was very certain that we're going to get some catfish or even some carp out there today, but lo and behold, we didn't. Luckily, we got that one little smallmouth, so we did get a fish. So do give me a little thumbs up for catching that fish. Alright guys, but with that, I think that's where we're going to call this video. I want to thank you for watching. If you've not subscribed to the channel yet, consider doing so, hitting the big red subscribe button, joining my community. And of course, feel free to ask any questions down below in the comments. Thank you for watching, and like always, see you next time.